Hello, everybody. I hope all of y'all are having a good day today. One of my one of my favorite Bible verses is John 3:3, where it's written, "Unless you're born again, you cannot see the kingdom of heaven." So many people they have all of these doctrines and these ideologies. They're like, "Well, I believe that means I'm born again." But if you're born again, that means you've transformed. Something has happened, and I've done so many videos on this, where it is no longer you who live, but Christ who lives in you. That means Christ has risen up in you, okay? And you're now, if Christ has risen up and it's no longer you who live, but Christ who lives in you, you have the mind of Christ, okay? And you're thinking from things from above, not down below. You have a higher consciousness. But it's written, unless you're born again, you cannot see the kingdom of heaven. And that word in the Greek that was originally used there for see means an inward spiritual perception, to see with the mind. It's with your mind's eye. You get it, you understand it, you understand the kingdom of heaven because it's within you. Remember, the kingdom of heaven is within. But what's really cool here is it's written, unless you are born again, you cannot see the kingdom of heaven. And look at the definition of that word for born again in the Greek. And it actually means born from above, but it also means from the beginning or from the old. It means from the origin. Think about that. From the origin of what? See, this stuff just, I love this stuff. You start, after you've experienced God, you've experienced His love, and He opens your mind, your eye up. You start seeing things and understanding things a lot deeper. And this stuff just blows my mind. I love this stuff. The origin, where's the origin? If you remember in Ephesians chapter 1, verse 4, where Paul wrote, God chose you in Him before He laid the foundations of the earth, or the creation of the earth. And that word for in, chose you in Him, meaning in God. Look at that word. It means from within Himself, God. God chose you from within Himself. So it's like you're a piece of God. It's broken off and put here. So what is a piece of God? It's an extension of Himself, a son or a daughter of God. So I've said before, we get here in this world and we just get covered by layers of I call it mud. We get covered by layers of this mud on our identities in this world. And we have amnesia. We forgot who we are and where we came from. But we came from God. And the only part of us that can go back to God is what is of God, and God is love, and He can't be around anything else. So all that stuff, that ego, that pride, that self, has to be burned away. That's why it's no longer I who live, but Christ who lives in me. All that stuff has to be burned away to get back to the original, the origin of who you are. Unless you're born again, you cannot see the kingdom of heaven. Right? You won't be able to understand it. You won't be able to get your mind around it unless you're born from above. You're born back from the origin, the original place where you come from above, that higher state of consciousness where we all used to be. Now, if you look in Job chapter 38, Job has got some deep, deep stuff written in there, and it gives you an idea of who we are. In Job chapter 38, verse 4, God is asking Job, He says, where were you when I laid the foundations of the earth? And He says, or who laid the cornerstone? Remember, Jesus is the chief cornerstone, but He said, who laid the chief cornerstone? Who laid the cornerstone? Where were you when all this happened? When the morning stars sang and the sons of God shouted for joy. The sons of God is B'nai Chai Elohim in Hebrew. In Job 38, verse 21, he says, surely you know, for you have lived for many years. Now, in the Hebrew, it's you've been here for a long time. You look at that and you're like, wow, it'll give you goosebumps, okay? So you've been around as long as God has been around because you're a piece of Him, okay? You were the sons of God who were there, shouting for joy, seeing all this stuff being done. We just don't remember it. Now in Romans 8:19, Paul wrote that creation, remember, where were you when I laid the foundations of creation? God chose you in Him before the creation. All right, Romans 8:19 is the creation anxiously awaits the manifestation of the sons of God. So what God created, while the sons of God shouted with joy, that creation now waits for those sons of God to manifest, to wake up. Wake up, O sleeper, rise from the dead, and the sleeper is God within you. Romans 8:29 and 30. For those that God foreknew, the ones He knew because they were from within Him, He predestined to be formed to the likeness of His Son, Jesus, the cornerstone, that He may be firstborn among many brothers, among many sons of God. We are the sons and daughters of God. You just have to wake up to that. You have to be born again, born from above. And when you're born from above, you go back to your origin. And that origin is within the Father. And once that happens, Christ is risen up in you. You have the mind of Christ. The Word of God has become flesh in you. Everything that you need to know is within you. Nothing external is needed. Where are my brothers and sisters? Creation anxiously awaits the manifestation of those. Certainly you know. We've been there with God since the beginning. You've lived so very long. I love you all. God bless.